In section 9.6, we're going to continue our factoring by grouping discussion here, and you'll notice today we're going to look at, or in this video anyway, we're going to look at factoring equations or expressions, I should say, that look like this: ax squared plus bx plus c. Okay, so we're going to actually take this factoring by grouping, and we're going to see now how it's applied to factoring expressions and solving equations. All right, so here's the deal. We want the combination. We want the sum of the middle term is 5, obviously, or 5x. So here's how this one changes, okay? We still want our sum to be this 5. However, instead of asking ourselves what two numbers multiply to get 3, we have to take this positive 3 and that 2 and multiply them together. And so now we're asking ourselves, I need two numbers that multiply to get 6 and add to get 5. Okay, and then once I identify those two factors, then I can go ahead and rewrite as 4 terms instead of 3 and solve by grouping. So we'll do this example together since it kind of walks you through. Okay, so again, ask yourself what two numbers when you add them together gives you positive 5, but when you multiply gives you positive 6. So you start going through. You have, let's see here, we have 6, so I have 1 and 6, and I have 2 and 3. Well, I think we all agree that 2 plus 3 is 5. And so essentially what they're wanting you to do here is they want you to take this original expression and they want you to rewrite the middle term, the 5x, as two separate terms using this 2 and 3. Okay, and so what it'll look like is this. You're going to say 2x squared plus 2x plus 3x plus 3. Okay, so again, this is the same. If you look at, let me erase all this so we can kind of clear the way here. All right, so if I now look at these two expressions, these are actually saying the exact same thing, okay? 2x squared. Now instead of having 5x, we just say 2x plus 3x, same thing, okay? And then finally the plus 3 stays the same. And now we're right back to what we did in class today, and that is group these two things together, group those two together. Okay, and to note, it might be worthwhile to note, if this 3x were here or that 2x were there, it wouldn't matter. Okay, you'd end up at the same spot anyway. Okay, so that won't really matter. So anyway, so I look here, I can factor 2x out of both things. If I factor 2x out, I'm left with x plus 1. And I can factor 3 out, and I'm left with x plus 1. That's good news. X plus 1 and x plus 1 are the same. And so finally, I can finish this problem up. Let me extend the page a little bit here. I can finish this problem up. Again, x plus 1 is my first factor. My second factor, I need to look at my coefficients. I have 2x and positive 3. So that tells me my second factor will be 2x plus 3. And that's how I would factor by grouping. So you'll notice today's lesson it has one additional step. We have to break down that middle term first and then factor by grouping. Okay, so it says factor completely. So again, I'm asking myself, 6 times 5 is 30. So I need two numbers that multiply to get 30 and add to get positive 13. So you start going through 1 and 30, 2 and 15, 3 and 10. I think that's going to be it. 4, no, I got 5 and 6. 5 and 6. Start adding these numbers up. 1 and 30, that's 31. 2 and 15 is 17. 3 and 10 is 13. So those are my two numbers I'm going to use. So now I have to, again, I just break that middle term down. So I have 5x squared plus 3x plus 10x plus 6. Okay, group the first two, group the second two, and now you just start breaking it down. Okay, out of these first two, I can pull out just an x. So I'm left with 5x plus 3 plus, out of this one, I can pull out a 2. So I'm left with 5x plus 3. Okay, well, 5x plus 3, 5x plus 3, good news. So my first factor is 5x plus 3. Look at your coefficients, x and positive 2, and that is your second factor. Okay, again, at this stage of the game, if I'm you, I'm going to take the time, I'm going to pause the video and try to work through this on my own to see where I'm at. Okay, so 14 and 2, that's 28. So I have 1 and 28, 2 and 14, 4 and 7. They got to add to positive 11. That's 29, that's 16, that's 11. So I have 2y squared plus 4y plus 7y plus 14. Group first 2 and second 2. Then look at this term. What can I pull out of both? I can pull out a 2y. I'm left with y plus 2 inside, plus over here I can pull out a 7. And I'm left with y plus 2 inside. Good news, y plus 2 and y plus 2. And so finally, my factored form is going to be y plus 2 and 2y plus 7. And again, the beautiful thing about factoring, you can always multiply these back out and see where you're at. Okay, make sure that you did it correctly, because when you FOIL this out, you should end up right back here at that first step. All right, part C I'm going to let you do on your own, because that's very similar. That's exactly what we've been doing. Part D here is a little bit different because there's a negative guy in there. So I have positive 4 and 3. So I'm looking for two numbers that multiply to get 12, but add to get negative 7. So if you think about this, you go through, they got to multiply to get a positive and add for a negative. Well, the only way to multiply and be positive is either both numbers are positive or both numbers are negative. Okay, in this case, it should make sense that both numbers are going to be negative, since our sum has to be a negative number. So you have negative 1 and negative 12, negative 2, negative 6, negative 3, negative 4. Start adding those together. Negative 1 and negative 12, that's negative 13. Negative 2 and negative 6 is negative 8. Negative 3, negative 4 is negative 7. So you group these together. 3x squared minus 3x minus 4x plus 4. Okay, group, and then you just start going to work. Okay, again, you could change that to plus or negative if you so desired. Okay, as a matter of fact, we have to change that to plus or negative. So we don't have to, but it just makes it easier to see. So I'm going to change it. So we have, I'm going to change both of these actually. Again, I just want to be consistent. I don't want to say one thing and then not do it. So what I would do is I'm going to change this to plus a negative 4x plus negative 3x, group and group. So now when I factor here, I'm going to pull out a positive 3x, and you're left with x minus 1, right? Negative 3x divided by positive 3x is negative 1. Okay, so 3x, parentheses, x minus 1, plus, over here I can pull out a negative 4, and so I'm left with x minus 1. X minus 1, x minus 1. And so finally, I can rewrite this in factored form as 3x minus 4 times x minus 1, and that would be my factored form. So again, just some things to note there. Factoring by grouping, we're plugging away. Okay. Again, here are some more. These are just like example D, so I'm going to let you guys kind of roll with those on your own. Just follow the same format, okay? Two numbers that multiply to get 6, but add to get negative 5, so both numbers are going to be negative, so on and so forth. And you guys can kind of work from there, factoring by grouping. I will expect all of these to be done in class on Wednesday. All right, so when you come in Wednesday, you have plenty of work to have for me. Again, just some more factoring by grouping. Okay, these ones are a little bit more difficult because, again, now you're looking at product is negative 28. Okay, so one's positive, one's negative, so negative 1, 28, 1 and negative 28, that's 28, 2, negative 2 and 14, 2 and negative 14, negative 4 and 7, 4 and negative 7. You go through, you'll notice negative 12, so that's 27, that's negative 27, that's positive 12, there's my negative 12. You use those two numbers to factor by grouping. Okay, so again, I'll go over all these in class, okay, if there are any questions. And for this one, as a matter of fact, let me just finish this up. So we have 4x squared plus 2x minus 14x minus 7, change everything to plus or negative, and then you go through group, and you can finish that up. Okay, pull a 2x out of here, pull a negative 7 out of there. All right, I'm trying to get to the equations here. There we go. Okay, so we got to solve this. All right, so the first thing I have to do is I have to factor this expression if I want to solve. So 3 and 4, that multiplies to get 12. So I have 1 and 12, 2 and 6, 3 and 4. I got to add to get 8x, so that's the 2 and the 6. So I have 4x squared plus 2x plus 6x plus 3 equals 0. Okay, now I'm equaling to 0, so that's the change here. All right, so now I group and group, pull the common term out, 2x, and I'm left with 2x plus 1, and over here I can pull out a 3, and I'm left with 2x plus 1 equals 0. So I have 2x plus 3 times 2x plus 1 equals 0. And now we're back to the zero product property. If these two expressions multiply to get 0, well then that means that either 2x plus 3 is 0 or 2x plus 1 equals 0. And then we solve those individually. Minus 3 minus 3. I'm running out of room here. So I end up at 2x equals negative 3 divided by 2. So x equals negative 3 halves. Or, and then I go over here. Minus 1 minus 1. So 2x equals negative 1. Divide both sides by 2. X equals negative 1 half. Whoops. Okay, so either solution is going to work. Okay, so you got to have both. So again, when you're asked to solve, factor, use the zero product property. Factor, use the zero product property. Over and over again. Factor, use the zero product property. So that kind of summarizes the lesson there. Again, we're going to spend plenty of time on this. We're going to make sure you all have it down. But again, you have to put in your effort on your end and make sure that you're doing all you can to learn this material. So bring questions to class and we'll go from there.